SBS advises that the following program includes references to child abuse.
Sometimes you catch yourself walking down the street thinking, that person could have seen that image of me. The imagery is just as bad as the actual physical sexual assault.
During COVID lockdowns, police around the world have reported a massive rise in the number of people viewing and sharing child sexual abuse images online. In the UK, police estimate there are 300,000 men regularly watching and sharing these images.
The problem is huge. The notion that my child is safe, my child is at home, my child's up in their bedroom, live streaming, cameras on phones, has now just taken away the front door completely.
Tonight, we'll hear from victims and perpetrators on a difficult subject.
I had to take on board that I facilitated the ongoing abuse because of the looking and sharing of these images.
Back in the 90s, there were less than 10,000 images of child sexual abuse online. Today, that number has soared to more than 47 million unique images. This is the story of the explosion of some of the most vile images on the internet and the small group of people who are trying to stop it. This is Matthew Folder, one of the most prolific online child abusers the UK has ever seen.
The offences that I've arrested you on suspicion of being involved in were blackmail, causing or inciting a child to engage in sexual activity, possessing indecent images of children.
Sounds like the rap sheet from hell.
A seemingly normal, intelligent and tech-savvy individual, Folder is the epitome of everything UK law enforcement is fighting in the war against online child abuse.
Have you sent pictures of your blackmail victims to the parents?
Yeah, I'm coming.
The pursuit of people like Folder is well-funded and relentless. And it's made the UK a world leader in policing this area of crime. In Norwich, the fight against child sexual abuse material, otherwise known as CSAM, is led by a special team at the Norfolk Constabulary. Detective Inspector Dave McCormack is the unit's senior officer.
We're in the Safeguarding Children Online team, which we nickname SCOLT, and our sole remit in here is to deal with online-based sexual crime and to safeguard children. We'll deal with everything. We won't just deal with indecent images. We'll deal with everything from the more serious offence of child rape all the way through to downloading or possessing indecent images of children.
Today, he's briefing police investigator Jenna Saunders on a new case.
Right, Jenna. A suspect we are well aware of. We've been at that address 3 times already. Okay. We already know he's got a female partner. We already know there are at least 3 children in that address. So it's fairly high risk for us. It's clearly escalating his sexual behaviours, and it's something that we need to be sort of getting hold of him for.
His team is dealing with a growing number of reports. Priority is given to cases where they believe children are at risk in their own homes.
People don't seem to be getting the message that uploading and downloading indecent images of children is illegal. It's a huge growing area of business for us. Certainly within the last 3 years, we've just seen our referrals and investigations skyrocket, and that's the only way to describe it, really. Your average offender lives at home, has his children at home and his family, and he'll have that normal life. He'll go off to work, but then underneath there'll be a secret lifestyle that nobody else knows about. And I feel as if they aren't going to get caught and live out their fantasies online. And all the time, they're fueling that sexual behaviour.
Does this lead to physical abuse?
I think there's a real strong possibility that it does lead to actual physical sexual abuse of children. I think they you know, like any addiction, you'll get to a certain point where you can't get any more and you now need to manipulate others to get what you want. And that's where your grooming offences come in. Once you move down the grooming, you're arranging to meet, offences happen. And once you're arranging to meet, you're pretty much arranging to meet to commit a physical sexual abuse offence.
The problem is huge, and I think it's one of the greatest threats to society and one of the greatest policing challenges, certainly, that we are facing.
Chief Constable Simon Bailey is Norfolk's most senior police officer. He also spearheads the UK's national policing response to online child abuse.
The latest statistics show that we are arresting over 700 men every month, safeguarding 900 children every month, month after month. But the bottom line is the numbers of referrals and the number of jobs just continue to grow and grow and grow and grow.
What do parents in Europe and Britain and Australia need to understand about the nature of this sort of material?
The notion that my child is safe, my child is at home, my child's up in their bedroom, we need to debunk that myth, and we need to understand that what live streaming, video cameras, cameras on computers, cameras on phones, live chat rooms, live broadcasting capability has now just taken away the front door completely and has afforded people access to every child anywhere in the world unless the appropriate safeguards and security mechanisms are in place.
When Rhiannon was 13, she started an online chat with a stranger. Years later, she still prefers to remain anonymous.
They said that they were a young adult female. First thing that you do was ask ASL, so age, sex, location, and then we followed it up with a picture to sort of prove who we were. She saw that I was a 13-year-old girl and she sent me a picture of a young woman that was supposedly her. So she said that she was a model, and after I'd sent the initial picture of just my face, she said that I was really pretty and that I could be a model like her. Eventually she asked for like a full-length photo, like to see what body type I had, and then it progressed to a topless photo. And I didn't want to do it at first, but she spent ages telling me that it was fine, it was okay, it was no big deal, everybody does it. She made me feel like it was okay to do it. So eventually I did send her a topless photo, and then everything changed. And she asked me to turn the webcam on so that it was sort of a video rather than images, and asked me to do certain things. And she said that if I didn't do that, then she was going to make sure that all my friends and family saw the topless photo of me. That was really terrifying for me. So I didn't really feel like I had much of a choice but to do what she was then telling me to do.
The woman asked Rhiannon to do more and more explicit sexual acts. She then asked to meet up.
I initially said no to her. I said that I wasn't going to give my address out. And then she threatened me that she was just going to release all the material that she had. So eventually I did give in and tell her my address because I didn't know what else to do.
But the person threatening Rhiannon was not a woman and not a model. It was all a lie.
I was too terrified to do or say anything at that point. And he sexually assaulted me at home, and he took pictures of everything.
There are some who look for explicit material of children being sexually abused online, but they do it as a job. They work from an unassuming office tucked away in a quiet business park. What you're about to hear from one of them is disturbing.
On a daily basis, we pretty much see all levels of child sexual abuse. So, you know, from a 13-year-old just sitting in their bedroom, showing themselves to a camera. Sometimes they might be masturbating. There may be penetration there, right up to, you know, babies being raped and tortured. We pretty much see everything that you could possibly imagine and a lot that you probably can't.
Paul is an analyst with the Internet Watch Foundation, which has the sole aim of taking down child sexual abuse material.
So if we identify it as child abuse, we'll create a report in our system just to capture all the evidence. That report will then go to the country that hosts that material. They'll then speak to their law enforcement and look to get the content removed.
Every day, IWF analysts receive hundreds of reports from the public about inappropriate websites and images.
We have seen quite a large increase in self-generated content, and I suppose we put it down to the fact that everyone's getting mobile phones these days and mobile devices. Children of a lot younger age are being able to put themselves on the internet far younger and share those images.
In 2020, almost half the content reported to IWF was user-generated. 81% of it showing young girls aged 11 to 13 years old. Meaning online predators are regularly coercing, blackmailing and tricking children into uploading explicit material.
There's certain sites where these people will find children online that are live streaming themselves. Once they find them, they'll then go into chat rooms on the dark web or wherever, and they'll then share this stream URL and they'll say, go to this site, there's a child there now. And then they all get on there and then they try and coax the child into doing more and more things that they want them to do. And it is terrifying because sometimes you'll hear the parents in a room next to them and chatting them for dinner, and the child's in another room and seemingly safe, but so very much not.
In 2020, the IWF removed 153,000 web pages of child sexual abuse material. That equates to millions of images going offline. But with more people at home since the global pandemic, there's been a 35% increase in public reports. And during the UK's first lockdown, the IWF blocked 8.8 million attempts by internet users to access child sexual abuse imagery. I want to understand what drives someone to access this kind of material. Under the condition of full anonymity, I've arranged to speak to a 32-year-old who we'll call Rob. He was charged with possession and distribution of child abuse material and is now on the sex offenders register.
I'm trying to understand, how did you begin watching child sexual abuse online?
I accessed adult pornography from probably the age of 10 or 11. So by the time I'm 18, 19, and I'm having conversations with people on chat rooms, and I'm already accessing quite hardcore, extreme, but legal pornography, that led me to conversations about young people, and then led to looking at images of young people.
Okay. When you were watching it, did you ever feel these children have been abused to create this video? Did you ever feel responsible in some way that you were creating the market for this?
When it comes to internet pornography, there is a detachment and you don't believe it is reality. I have had to come to an understanding that any image or any video is incredibly real. It is an example of abhorrent abuse that has taken place. I've had to take on board that I facilitated the ongoing abuse because of the looking and the sharing of these images.
How much of this material is out there? How easy is it to access?
Like, unbelievably rife. I don't think we as a society want to realise how much material is out there.
Rob was eventually arrested with hundreds of illegal images in his possession.
And I lost a huge number of friends. I lost a huge number of opportunities. This is the most socially taboo crime that exists. And I can understand why people view this crime as evil.
Right. One way to prevent these crimes is helping people to stop viewing CSAM. It's a strategy actively pursued in the UK.
Stop It Now, can I help?
Stop It Now is a free hotline and counselling service for those worried about their sexual thoughts or behaviours towards children.
And what's brought you to calling us today?
A surprising amount of inquiries are from concerned partners or family members.
What we find with a lot of people that look at images online won't necessarily have also harmed a child.
So do we get more offenders or more family friends, more younger people?
This call centre receives between 50 to 60 calls every day. But during the pandemic, that call load has increased by almost 50%.
And responded to as a criminal problem rather than a medical.
Donald Findlater is the director of Stop It Now and one of the UK's leading experts on child abuse prevention. I've always thought that people accessing child sexual abuse material online were part of that percentage of the population that you could call pedophiles.
They are mostly a little or a lot different from what you're imagining. The estimates across the globe are about 1% of the adult male population are essentially paedophilic in their sexual interest. That doesn't mean they're all acting on that interest, but what are we seeing online that's significantly different? Then I would say that most of the people that we've worked with have journeyed from adult pornography consumption to looking at teenage images to looking at the next stage down and the next stage down. So they've gone down this rabbit hole of interest. And some of them realise they're shocked that they've done that and they will come out and they will not return and they'll be mortified by what they've seen. But some of them, unfortunately, will get fascinated by that.
And for a large number, online viewing can lead to a desire for actual physical abuse.
25% of the people we now that are contacting us now about online offending are talking about engaging with children directly. So they're taking that next step, and therefore we have to help them to not take that step.
Research estimates that for most convicted abusers, there's a 10-year delay between first fantasising about children and then actually abusing them. Despite this window, there are no early intervention services like this in Australia. Back at the Norfolk Online Child Protection Unit, officers have just made an arrest.
Today we executed a warrant. Suspect was upstairs in his bedroom. Cheryl, you arrested him on suspicion of distribution of indecent images. He doesn't have access to any children and he doesn't have any children by himself. He doesn't babysit anyone. So we don't have any safeguarding concerns for any children.
He has been uploading indecent images and videos to the internet via what we call like cloud storage services, things like Dropbox and Mega like iCloud, they're all storage accounts.
Because these are foreign tech companies, UK police cannot force them to hand over the files. When it comes to websites and social media platforms, many companies say it's too much data for them to know that CSAM is even there.
International lawyers will have
Chief Constable Simon Bailey doesn't buy that.
And the remit.
He believes they must build better systems to identify online abuse.
You shouldn't be allowed to create a site which has the ability to host that material and just turn around and say, well, there's nothing we do about it. And you have a responsibility to police what's being facilitated. That cannot be the responsibility of law enforcement staff.
He's been instrumental in helping create proposed new laws to make the UK one of the safest countries online.
Companies need to understand, more so than ever before, that they have a social and a moral responsibility to protect children and to prevent the abuse of children. And the bottom line is that they are not doing enough. Companies that we are talking about have become embedded into our lives to the point where actually we're almost prepared just to turn a blind eye and turn around and say, well, that cop who talks about these numbers, well, that just can't be right. No, he's just exaggerating. He's getting all emotional and emotive around it. Well, no, I'm not. I'm talking about cold, hard facts. I'm talking about what I am seeing and my colleagues are having to see and view. I'm talking about officers that are viewing the rape and abuse of a child, and then a week later going into somebody's house and seeing that child and seeing the room where they saw them the week before being raped. Now that's tough, and it's happening. And we all need to reflect on the permissive nature of what we are, by supporting these companies, I think are allowed to take place.
So no matter how tough the laws might become in the UK, does anything change until there's a global response?
Well, I would like to think that what would happen is if we get it right here, then other countries around the world that will be equally as horrified as we are will take the view, well, if they can do it in the UK, then we can do it too. And I would like to think there would be a domino effect. I think making sure a regulator has the power, has the teeth, has the compellable powers that will say to companies, right, we are now going to hit you with a huge fine or some form of punishment where actually they sit up and take notice, because the voluntary code of practice, a voluntary code of practice, simply has not worked. It's failed.
So forcing tech companies to take down or close down this material under threat of criminal sanction is the next step in the global fight against child sexual abuse online.
If you make it harder for people to consume it and you make the deterrence along the way that great, then actually you will then start to see a reduction in it.
The UK hosts less than 1% of the world's child abuse material. According to the IWF, the Netherlands hosts a staggering 71%, making it Europe's biggest hoster. And now, pressure is mounting on the Dutch government to follow the UK's lead to pull their internet industry into line. Okay, can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Oh, great. Ada Gerkens is a Dutch senator and head of the country's peak CSAM reporting body.
The IWF says that the 71% of the CSAM material they found in 2019 was on Dutch servers.
Yeah, many people think that 71% of all CSAM material is found on Dutch servers. Well, that's not true. It's what they found. 16.1 million reports have been done last year to the United States. We've had 275,000 reports, including the ones from IWF. So you can see the vast majority is in the United States. Having said that, we're coming in second. So we still have a big problem. I don't want to deny that.
Superfast connection has made the Netherlands Europe's internet gateway to the world. But that means, along with business, all kinds of online criminality get funneled through here too. And that includes a large number of websites hosting child sexual abuse material.
Why are they not stopping it?
Well, they are. They're trying, but it's very hard. We do not hold internet service providers responsible for what's on their networks, because you have millions and millions of websites, so you cannot know. But once you are notified, from that point on, you are responsible and you should act upon it. So far, so good. I think about 90% of the hotlines of this internet service providers, they act, and they even act within 24 hours or 48 hours. They take it down very swiftly.
A recent report by the Dutch government shows 99% of the child abuse imagery hosted in the country is spread between just 4 companies. It says almost all of that is hosted by just one company, Enforce, which received over 174,000 reports of CSAM from monitoring bodies in the first half of 2020. Over the past 2 years, Enforce took, on average, 11 days to remove reported material, whereas another hosting company, IP Volume, took 21 days to take the material down. The companies say they need to determine whether it is actually illegal material.
They would say the only one who can decide whether this is child sexual abuse material or not is a judge. And legally, they're absolutely right.
In a statement to Dateline, IP Volume said they refuse to work with Dutch CSAM reporting bodies because they get too many false complaints, and that recently they've developed their own methods to remove CSAM quickly. And it's working. Enforce told us the company will continue to, and always has, cooperated with the government, especially in the matters of fighting CSAM. They say they're looking at ways to remove material faster. But that's not enough for the Dutch government, which is considering new laws to fine companies 4% of their annual income if they fail to remove child abuse content within 24 hours of it being reported.
We come to the point where we can no longer say, even as an internet hosting provider, I'm not responsible for anything happening on my service. That means that there's going to be a legislative body who will oversee whether internet hosting providers are doing enough to prevent child sexual abuse material being uploaded or hosted on their service. And if they're not doing enough, then can be fined by this authority.
It's been a decade since Rhiannon was abused by a digital predator. She's still battling the trauma.
It's changed who I am, really. When I look back now, it's like a dark cloud over my entire life for those 10 years. You know, it touched every part of my life. I had panic attacks on a daily basis. I had depression, and I used to self-harm. I took an overdose and tried to kill myself twice. You know, I had real anger issues. I was just angry that this had happened to me and that it never should have happened.
In an age when children are uploading their lives, Rhiannon warns that parents must engage with what their children are doing online. And there's something else, much more challenging.
These perpetrators are adults, they're grown-ups who are skilled manipulators who can get people to do things that, you know, without them even realising that that's what they're doing, that they're being tricked into doing something. You know, so young people really need to know that they're not to blame. If I'd had that message when I was younger, maybe I would have felt more able to speak out about it. I think it's really important.
There's an urgency to her message. It's estimated that up to 85% of children abused online are never identified by authorities. If you need immediate assistance or support, contact Kids Helpline Lifeline or the Marie Collins Foundation by following the contact details on your screen now.